Woo! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I am Kirk Henderson, joined by Josh Bowe. We're coming to you at the truly wonderful time of about 8:35 on Friday, March 6th. Josh, how are you?
Doing okay. Friday night. True sickos with us for this one. Mavericks lose a blowout game on the road, but I guess it was national TV and Jayson Tatum came back, so maybe more people watched than I give credit for.
I think so. I think so. You know, it was this was one where I felt like from the start the Mavericks were likely going to get, waxed in one way, shape, or form. I don't normally feel that way for reasons that by now should be pretty clear to the audience. Mavericks are a hard playing team, but the injury report tonight was actually pretty garbo. Two guys were out tonight that the Mavericks really can't play without, at least in my opinion. Like, it's pretty frustrating to know that Daniel Gafford is like this important to the roster. Who else was out? Why am I losing my mind? I wrote about it earlier. Just shows you how tired I am. Who else was out?
Well, they had basically
no big. Yeah, Marvin Bagley, who has been out. Right. But it's like when Bagley and him are out against the Celtics team, which bombs from deep, this was going to be a game that the Mavericks, they were going to lose. It was kind of a question of how.
Kind of an interesting way they lost, but too.
I think so. So, let's just kind of go through the game. Obviously a lot of, you know what? Actually, you talk for a second. I somehow found some spilled coffee underneath my keyboard, which is remarkable.
No, it's okay. I say interesting because obviously they kept it close. I mean, it was close up until end of the third quarter, most of the fourth quarter. But it was kind of role reversal. The Celtics got all their points in the paint and the Mavericks got all their points from three. And the Celtics are, one of the top 3-point shot making teams in the league. And they shot, I mean, they still made a lot, but that's because, they take more than pretty much anyone in the entire league, but they only shot 33%. The Mavericks shot 40%. That's 2 straight games now. They've shot really well from three. And I mean, if they didn't shoot well from three, they would have lost this game by 30. So that's really what it was. They stayed tough. They hung with it, but their defense isn't good enough, especially when they don't really have a rim protector. And yeah, that's kind of, and Cooper Flagg didn't look right, so that doesn't help. Got hurt early, which clearly threw him off. But yeah, I mean, the Celtics couldn't make threes, but they had a layup line pretty much all night. And the Mavericks kept up because they were able to have another hot shooting night because their 2 best 3-point shooters made threes.
Yeah, the first quarter, so Flagg obviously sprains that ankle or whatever happened to it. And I wrote this in the recap, but, you see that and you're like, okay, he's out for the game. Then he plays the whole game because he's 19 years old and made out of rubber. I do question whether or not it was wise to even play him like that. But, I want to say, who am I to question this training staff? But I'm going to question this training staff because they've just had way too many fucking injuries. So I'm a little curious as to why he kept playing. I think the answer probably has more to do with Flagg's desire to keep playing in front of something like 60 friends and family there at TD Garden Center. And I get that. And so I'm not gonna have a cow about that. But what was very clear after that injury is that defensively he was not gonna be able to perform. Offensively, he was still able to get to his spots. In his 2 games back, he is 14 of 45, which is bad. I think would be the way you would describe it. But I'm not hating the process to get the shots. It's just the shots themselves kind of look like ass. And that will do it for you. So it becomes, one of these games where it's the Mavericks hung tight in the first quarter because the Celtics were playing weird. Jayson Tatum, I think once Jayson Tatum, at the end of the first half, the Celtics finally pulled away from the Mavericks, and it was really only a 5-point. It was only a 5-point lead at halftime. But Tatum got a dunk and a 3, and then he had one other made basket, and that seemed to settle the whole team down. Because they were obviously really excited. Tatum come back for the first time in 10 months since he tore his Achilles. Looked rusty and nervous, but not bad in the first quarter. He was short on a dunk, which made me laugh out loud because like that's the sort of thing that can give you a stinger. I don't know if you've ever had anything like that, where it's like he's
No, I've never been able to jump high enough for that.
But doing anything where it's like when you come into contact with something unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Like the pain was just like, geez, that looked like that hurt. Anyway, he kept playing. But that seemed to loosen up the whole team.
Yeah, he started 0 for 6 and then finished 6 for 10 from the floor. So
pretty good.
Got his sea legs under him.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, Flagg, you talked about you didn't hate the way he got his shots. He just couldn't make his shots. I mean, yeah. He took 23 shots and 15 of them were in the paint. So it's not like he was settling. No. Some of his paint drives look like he didn't, what's that from The Office when Michael Scott's like, I'll start a sentence not knowing, how I'm going to end it. And that's kind of how some of his drives felt, like where he just kind of drove and it was like, I don't know if he has a plan here, but he's going. And I guess you would rather him do that than shoot a bunch of jumpers. He took, 4 middies and 4 threes. So that's an okay number. He's going to, he has to take jumpers to loosen up the defense. But the problem is, there's nothing in support of him outside of the spacing that he can occasionally get from like Clay and Max Christie. I mean, they don't have, there's no point guard play on this team right now. I mean, it's him.
I want to talk about this because I want to see if you notice this. You're much better at noticing things than me. I am not. I am at least a 2-time film watcher. Like I need to see the thing twice before I really see it. But in the first half, Najee Marshall was kind of the only offense for the Mavericks, like the consistent offense. At one point, he was 6 of 8 from the floor. He was driving to the rim with ease and finishing on a lot of, get to the rim, ball fake, reverse, floater, kind of, just the crafty maxi we've come to enjoy. And then that just went. The Celtics essentially laid a trap for him in the second half where he was met in the paint by like 3 guys every time in the second half. It was brutal. And watching Najee, who is not exactly a prolific complainer, like kind of pull a Luka Light in terms of throwing his hands and arms up.
Yeah, he had a couple of those.
And it's just like that it stands out.
Frustrated.
Because he doesn't do stuff like that. That's why I mainly pointed out. And like the Celtics defensive adjustments, which were like, hey, we have who's the guy the Kings cut that was awesome? I don't even know how to say his name. Nemus Quita. I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah. Their center.
He was great and baited a lot. Like in the second half, he was much better or effective at rim protection than in the first half, and baited a lot of Mavericks into stuff paired with Tatum, who might be 7 foot tall for all we know, and Jaylen Brown, who is incredibly strong. So it's like the back line stuff was just really effective.
And the Celtics finally did the thing that we've been telling all these teams, like, why are you letting the Mavericks get to the free throw line and get to the paint when they can't shoot? And they closed those avenues off very well. And to the Mavericks' credit, they tried to throw some curveball. They were running a lot of off-ball stuff for Clay and Max to get them threes, and they made them, and that's the only reason why they came close. But if their Mavericks aren't getting to the bucket or converting at the bucket, they have no chance. That was a good point on Najee. He was 1, 2, 3. He was 6 for. Oh, I'm doing the quick math. 6 for 6, 8, 9. He was 6 of 9 in the first half. 4 of 6 in the paint in the first half. He didn't make a shot in the second half. He was 0 of 2 in the paint, 0 of 1 from mid-range. So yeah, you're right. They absolutely were like, that's enough of Najee. And the Celtics have enough able bodies, long arms, and the Mavericks just don't have enough pressure outside of the Clay and Maxey threes. The Celtics were never going to back off of that and open up the paint for Najee to do his thing after that first half. So yeah, you're right. They kind of frustrated him. They shifted their game plan. And again, it's another one of those cases where it feels like a team maybe, doesn't know, the Mavericks came out and played really hard. And it felt like the second half, the Celtics was like, okay, we need more than our B or C minus effort to win this game. If they maybe thought that they could do that, combined with, the Jayson Tatum of it all and trying to get him acclimated to the game, probably threw them off and threw off their rotations. But yeah, the Celtics definitely made good defensive adjustments in the second half.
Well, I'm a moron. I put in throughout the recap, I put that it was 120 to 98, and it's because ESPN's box score just eat a dick, ESPN. You constantly change your box score and change stuff. I've clicked in, like I've been here on the page, and it was 98. It maybe it's probably just the API that feeds it,
only off by 2 points.
but it's so annoying. So it's like I had it like 7 times in the thing, and I just didn't score it right. So sorry if my camera was shaking for a second. It's because I was trying to type and ask someone to change it for me while we're in here. This one's just is going to be kind of a tough one to dip too much into. I don't like bagging on some of these guys because it feels counterproductive because we want them to lose, in that them winning doesn't help anything, or I mean it's in terms of draft lottery odds. And so you're just kind of it's the next 15 or 18 games, however many of this is just, it's going to be a little weird. It's weird.
I want to ask you, there's 2 more points I want to hit on before we wrap up. The second one we can do after the break. And since you wrote the recap, I just want to ask you.
Sure.
So we'll do the first one. I'm looking at, like, I was watching, like, it was so easy for Boston to get into the paint. And I know that they've got so much shooting that it makes it hard because you want to get out to shooters and then that opened things up. But the Celtics have 52 points in the paint, but they shot, what did they shoot at the restricted area? They were 21 of 26 in the restricted area, that's really good. And obviously, you know, the Mavericks are playing Dwight Powell, Moussa Cisse for their back line. But like, I'm looking at the Mavericks lineup and I'm like, I'm not seeing theoretically a lot of weak links, at least on the perimeter. Like, you know, they started Middleton, PJ Washington, Cooper Flagg, Max Christie. Obviously, Middleton's lost a step. You know, come on off the bench, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, Brandon Williams. Okay, you know, Brandon Williams, Klay Thompson, Najee. None of those guys have been stellar defensively. I get it. But like between Caleb Martin, Cooper, Max, PJ, even a little bit of Middleton, you know, even though he's lost a step, like their defense should feel maybe a little better. And again, you know, maybe having no backline defense or help rim protection, you know, makes a difference there. But like, it just feels like it was too easy. And I'm like, this team is going to be offensively challenged for a while, like not just this season, but even next. Like, they're not going to fix this next season. They're going to have to hang their hat on being a good defensive team. And I'm not seeing it, even, you know, because I don't, you know, I'm not seeing it. And I feel like they have enough. They've got like 4 or 5 perimeter defenders that should be good enough to that it's not a layup line.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Jamie Cardona in the chat says, I don't think Max is actually any good on defense.
That's the thing. I think that's kind of what I'm leaning at. Like, if he's not good on defense, that kind of changes, I think, his ceiling on in terms.
Are you able to tell the points in the paint or the restricted area shots? Are you able to tell what that breakdown might be by quarter?
Yes, I can. What do you want to? Which quarter do you?
I'm just curious because I felt like the first half was significantly better than the second half.
In terms of rim defense?
Yeah, and I could just be completely off base there.
Well, it was bad. I mean, they shot 21-26, so it was bad both halves. But the first half they were 9 of 10. But 10
they only
is not 10. The attempts. Yeah. Second half was 12 of 16, which that's bad.
I'm not really 16. No. There's nothing there to my point. Then I was sort of wondering.
Well, the volume they got. I mean, six more rim attempts compared to the first half. I mean, that's not nothing.
Tatum hit a corner 3 over PJ or maybe Moussa Cisse. It was top of my screen that I felt like broke the Dallas defense.
I think they got dejected.
It was a massive and awesome shot from Tatum with somebody in his face. And I think at that point, because there were like streaks down the middle of the lane where it was like 2 Celtics for 1 Maverick.
Yeah.
But it was bad.
Yeah, it was like 1 dribble moves, layup, 1 dribble move, layup, 1 dribble move, layup. And you know, some of that's Cooper. Like, Cooper couldn't move. Like,
that was kind of the sell point for me, where we had a couple of guys in the Mavs Moneyball Slack. They're like, why is he even playing in like the third quarter? Because he was moving so poorly. So I don't know.
Yep. Okay.
All right, let's take
a
a quick break then. Thanks so much for hanging out. Multiple things to ask of folks because I like to beg. First, if you could consider supporting the show by listening to the ads, very helpful to us. If you want another way to support the show, it's by telling your friends. We're getting really into the grime at this point. Numbers are just down. Only the true sickos are watching. But hey, if you want to, trick somebody into joining the show, that's how we do it here. Third way is there's a link in the show notes. I'd appreciate that. Also, if you would consider going to offside.gg and downloading the beta for a new app and a company that I'm a part of. It's a short form video app with a lot of fun data visualizations. It will be coming to Android next week. If you're an Android person like Josh is, I really think the data visualizations are actually quite fun. And I hung out and did a live chat today during the game. And so, I'll probably be doing that again, though not this Sunday. I'll be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about this game, and then I'm going to kick to a group therapy, which we haven't done in a while. So hang on. Okay, and we're back. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a group therapy after this show for everybody in the YouTube live. Just hang out. We can talk a little ball. 20, 30 minutes. Tyler is going to join us to talk a little bit of college ball and what's coming up next, which I think could be fun. And, of course, anybody else that has their takes off will get it and just hang out for a little bit because it's early. I don't want to stay up too late, though. So, anyway, what else we got, Josh? What are you thinking?
Yeah, the other thing I want to ask you was about the offense, and we kind of hinted at it. And I'm just looking at this. I'm like, I don't know what the Mavericks will do this offseason. Obviously, they need a point guard. And, obviously, this draft is stacked with guards. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't even necessarily need a point. I mean, they just need they need guards. They can't even be picky about it. And obviously, this draft, the top 10 is stacked with. I don't know anything about college basketball other than I know that this top 10 is stacked with guards. Right?
Yeah.
The guy from Kansas, the guy from BYU. I know the Mavericks probably won't pick high enough to get them.
I don't know, man. There's some weird stuff happening. And
the guy from Houston, right?
Before you go on with your point, I do want to note
go ahead.
That what I'm seeing right now in the college draft is access to too much information where everyone is sort of starting to second guess some of their priors because it's just stuff staring them in the face where you got injuries, you got this, that, and the other. Then a guy like Caleb Wilson, who goes down for the season with a thumb injury, does that help him because there's no more video to pick? It reminds me of what happened. Like Luka in 2018 was the number one pick. And and for just because of a Mina Kimes interview, I really believe this, he sank in the lottery because like they called him double con queso because he ate too much at a Hard Rock Cafe. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just like, obviously nothing's going to change in terms of the roster, but like, why did you convert Ryan Nembhard to a full-time contract if you're not going to play him? And it's not like
he played 4 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say if he doesn't deserve the minutes, he doesn't deserve the minutes. But like, you also released Tyus Jones, which maybe was a make good for him. He wanted to be on a playoff team, sure. But Brandon Williams played 19 minutes, but it's pretty clear he is not a table setter. He is a 6-man go score first. Shoot first, not necessarily like ball hoggy. Like he can pass. He had 4 assists, 0 turnovers, but he's not a table setter. He's a score first, score second, score third, score fourth, and then maybe after that, maybe he'll pass. Again, not saying that's selfish. That's just what he's good at. That's what that's his role. He shouldn't try to play outside of his role right now as he's trying to stick around in the league. But like I just. And it's not that I don't, the Cooper Flagg point guard stuff. I think that's a worthy experiment. But man, it's just, I would really like to see what Cooper would look like with a legitimate playmaker next to him. And maybe it's a case of him taking his medicine this season. They go into the draft. Maybe they stumble into one of these top guards. They have a starting point guard next year. Maybe they get one. Maybe they get another veteran through trade or free agency this summer, and it's a little bit easier. I just hope, and they're not, and like I want to say, like they just can't go into year 2 Cooper without this point guard stuff being better. And it will be, because I can't imagine they're going to take like a big with whatever their lottery pick is, but who knows? So I have to imagine just by the draft by default will solve some of this, but like it's tough to watch. And part of me does wonder, like, the rookie of the year race and this stuff doesn't really matter that much. Just matters what's best for Cooper Flagg going forward, what's best for his development. But when I see like the Cooper versus Con stuff, I'm not trying to say one way or the other. Like, Con is great and he's having a tremendous season, but like, could you imagine Cooper on that Hornets roster? Like playing next to LaMelo and playing next to Brandon Miller and playing next to now Colby White and that team is loaded. And you just like imagine Con here, like how much harder it would be for him to do stuff. And I just I don't know where I'm going with this. It's more just I'm watching this offense and this mashing of the Cooper Flagg square peg into a round hole. Right. I'm not trying to say it's bad in terms of like I don't disagree with the tactic, because obviously I think it's going to help his development down the road. It's just I don't know what I'm saying other than it's hard to watch, I guess, is my point. And maybe that doesn't matter for anything and I'm just bitching to bitch, but it's hard to watch the offense like this without a point guard. Like it's just hard.
Well, and one of the names you didn't mention, and I think just because it's obvious, is like Kyrie Irving returning takes a lot.
Oh yeah, sorry. Off. Wow, I blew that one.
No, it's not a blow, but it's one of the things we've been very consistent in saying is that Kyrie Irving needs to be a solution, not the solution, because of his age and because of you and just
his injury history.
You want to bring him along carefully. And so I think that, we've talked about this a little bit, but and maybe Tim Cato said this to me so long ago. I don't even know if it would still count as off the record, but he said to me closer to the beginning of the season, and I think it was after Nico was fired, but something to the effect of like, Nico genuinely didn't seem to understand the value of on-ball creation, because he
clearly didn't.
Right. He's so valued defense, but then you also have Luka and Kyrie. And if and to a certain extent, it makes me think he devalued Kyrie Irving too, which is a fascinating thing to say out loud. Because he obviously very much wanted Kyrie to be on the team, but it's like when you get that used to a level of ball handling and decision-making, it struck me as a thing that very clearly he took for granted as a general manager. And so heading into next year, this is like the Mavericks are getting beaten in some areas where I think they can improve a little bit, but it's going to be hard to improve overnight unless they find a guy who's just, let's just take the guy from Arkansas who is not my favorite player, Acuff Jr., who is an incredible college point guard, incredible scorer, great passer, but smaller. And he fixes the problem, but does he, if you are trying to build towards the championship level, I think there's earnest questions about whether he is a starting caliber guard on a championship team, because him and Kyrie are both 6'2", maybe. And that just makes all this difficult as you go down the line where, I say this often. Obviously, the hardest part of any rebuild is finding your superstar. But once you find the superstar, the path to contention actually gets harder because there's expectations. And the Mavericks really have to figure these next steps out, and they just have to be right. This is a cross-sports comparison, but I was listening to a podcast today that talked about how my Kansas City Chiefs effectively broadened their championship window by sending away Tyreek Hill, and every single player that they drafted using the picks that they got for Tyreek Hill panned out. Every single one. And that was how they were able to keep their streak going and extend it into something longer. Because of the lack of Mavericks draft capital, they have to be right. There is not a margin for error. There is not a margin for error.
This upcoming draft pick legitimately might be the most important decision this front office makes for the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. Is that?
I think it's right. But I think there's opportunity. I mean, I think a lot of these players are really, really interesting and really good. And playing with a Cooper makes things better. Like, they're not coming in as the savior. They're coming as an additive. And I mean, let's say the Mavericks somehow get very lucky, land a top 4 pick, and let's say they draft number 2 overall and they're able to select AJ Devanza. That brings a different level to this because Cooper and Devanza together, their creation can probably solve some of what we're talking about. Like basketball does not have to be done one way. There are some things that you have to be. And that's really where this gets a little interesting. I mean, you know, we're going to talk about this a lot more in the coming months, but I'm just as excited about this like 28th to 30th pick that the Mavericks are going to get from the Oklahoma City Thunder, because usually guys that are drafted like 20 to 30 are drafted by good teams that don't need players. We watched the Mavericks do this for several years back in the 2000s and the early teens, where you know you're selecting a Dominique Jones hoping he pans out. Whereas realistically, I think there's going to be lower ceiling guys with high floors, like day one contributors to a team, because they made it to the back half because they don't have near the upside, and they did. But you know, they're typically team guys that would hope to make it to the second round so they could have a little bit better contract freedom. But for the Mavericks, I think they're going to be able to lock down a potential starter with that 29th pick. So between both these things, the whatever pick they have in the top 10 and then this pick, they have some real optionality. And like there's the front office has a lot of challenges in front of it, but there is a lot of opportunity. So it's not dire as much as it is important.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I wish I could offer more on how good the college guys are.
No, but I do think you need to give your Cam Boozer take before we get out of here, because like that made me laugh really, really hard, because I think once you start to dip into these prospects, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna really enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I watched highlights of the first time, I think yesterday or the day before. And again, highlights, just a highlight reel. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, this is I was amazed. I was like, wow, it's how I played in high school, except if the player was actually like good and not terrible, like I was, like under the rim, lots of layups, some mid-range jumpers, free throw line jumpers. I was just like, wow, that's kind of, you know, offensive rebounds, cleaning up the glass, garbage buckets. I was like, wow, that's how I played, except I was a very bad backup, you know, like, and didn't play a lot. I was like, if I was peak Josh Bowe would be and if you gave me the Ninja Turtles ooze, that's what I would turn into.
I've seen some of the advanced numbers on him and like some of the stuff from Synergy, and like in different play situations, he's effectively like a 95th percentile guy in just about every offensive play option. It's absurd.
He's really talented. He's really skilled. And I mean, you know, Carlos Boozer, like, it's not shocking.
Yeah, but what it feels like is like if you're playing a video game and you somehow get the ability to fuck with the sliders and have it not affect other things, he's just incredibly skilled from top to bottom. And I'm, you know, we're going to be obviously talking about him a lot more. I hope we do. My concerns have to do with like, is he a tween? He's not tall enough to be a center, and is he quick enough to be a 4? And that's neither here nor there, but it's just, it would be a hilarious problem if the Mavericks were to have a chance to draft him and pair him with Cooper. Like, that's the sort of thing I would love to see. Not because of any, you know, because it's like two high level basketball players that are effectively, they don't play the same position, but I do think they operate at the same place. And like on the break pod, and he's mentioning he's won every year at EYBL. My friend Brian did a compilation of all of his win-loss stats from his freshman year of high school, and he's 132-16. Like, and this is like in high level basketball. He effectively said that Carlos Boozer is probably the winningest American basketball player at the sub college level since Magic Johnson.
Jesus.
Yes. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a fun thing to wonder and talk about, but it seems unlikely. But at the same time, that's why I love the draft, because it's all hope. And, you know, Cuban just kneecapped us because he had a bad 2000s draft, and then the Mavericks were winning, but also the CBA was different, so you didn't have to invest this way. Starting in 2012, if the Mavericks had drafted even a little better, Dirk might have won another playoff series.
Oh, yeah,
just
absolutely.
A little better. Instead, they shat themselves every time. Shane Larkin, who is actually quite an amazing professional basketball player. He just wasn't an NBA player.
He just wasn't Giannis.
Yeah, well, but I mean, and like he had the ankle problems, and Carlisle was a douche canoe, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to start a group therapy, which I think we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. So,
well, yeah, you have fun. You said Tyler's coming on.
Tyler's going to come on. I see my buddy Ash Boying down there. Maybe we can get
fun.
this on the break, gentlemen, in here. Well, we'll talk to some people. I haven't talked to people in almost 3 or 4 weeks because I've been lazy.
All right, so I'll take care of the site. You have fun.
All right, we will be back, guys. Just hang on. I'm going to start up the music and re-advertise the show. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to now. I guess this is group therapy. I am Kirk Henderson. I need to change what the show is actually called here on the live part of it. There we go. This is our secondary. I wish it was more regular post game show where we're going to talk a little hoop and talk about what we've seen the last several games. Talk about college. Really talk about whatever the Sam hell you want. I got my buddy Killicam, who's waiting, but I also got my guy Tyler, who I had invited specifically to talk college hoops. So Killicam, I'm going to make you wait a few minutes. Hope you don't mind. Coming up first is Tyler. What's going on, brother?
How we doing, Kirk? Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
I am interested to hear what you have to say because I think that will then prompt everyone else to issue their comments on this. So we've really put off talking about college ball because it's just too long of a wait. But we have no choice, largely because the calendar now is forcing our hand here. So let's get right down into it. Where are we in the college calendar, and what do you think we need to be watching?
So this weekend is the final weekend of the college basketball regular season. Your final games are the big ones are going to be tomorrow, being Saturday, and then there's one big one on Sunday. I think Michigan and Michigan State will play, which is a good one. So yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to this weekend. At the same time, you've got some of the smaller schools doing their conference tournaments, which is a lot of fun. You get the random
insane formatting going on. Isn't it like the Sun Belt that has like that looks like that murderers conference? There's just wild shit that happens in these conference tournaments. I appreciate the originality.
Have gone to that because they want to reward the higher seed. So it looks like these like killer ladders. Like you mentioned the Sun Belt. If you were the last seeded team, you had to win 7 games in 7 days to make the title game.
Which is probably not the best, but it also more likely brings the best team out of a given conference because it's like your record during conference play should it should reward you more. You shouldn't have the same number of opportunities to lose as another team. I like the idea, at least.
I do too. I think some of them have gone a bit too extreme, but at the same time, if you're a one bid league and you've got like one team where you're like, this team could maybe pull an upset, you're going to try to stack the deck to make sure that they get the chance to do that. So I understand what they're doing, but the teams that I really were looking forward to seeing, some of them already got knocked out. Like Belmont in the Missouri Valley lost to Drake today. Drake, which last year had Bennett Sturts, a name you might be familiar with, at Iowa this year. He transferred in from Drake last year with his coach, and they retooled, and they were not very good this year. And Belmont is a bunch of like, you think of like a bunch of white dudes just shooting the absolute crap out of the ball. That's Belmont. They lost by 21 to this 9-seeded crap team. So you get some of that, but all the big schools, typically the best teams will probably start Wednesday or Thursday next week. So it'll be this weekend, and then you've got a little bit of a break.
Okay. That'll be fun. So what else? Where should we start then, as far as who you'd like to talk about? Because for anybody that missed it, we did a mock draft about 2 weeks ago. It was actually really fun looking at that top 10, and I think that the Caleb Wilson news today, broke his thumb, out for the year. One of my friends referred to that as that's a white guy injury, and I just started laughing out loud. It's like I don't remember. You really don't hear about basketball players breaking their thumbs very much.
Did you hear how he did it?
What? No, was it a jersey tanglement? Tell me it was something weird like that. Tell me it wasn't like a ball.
So
hitting his thumb.
he already had the wrist injury on the left hand, right?
Yes.
So he breaks his right thumb. He was doing individual one-on-one work in a drill, goes to dunk and breaks his thumb dunking it.
See, that actually kind of concerns me.
Might be a bit brittle.
Well,
but
who among us?
I do think injuries are an interesting starting point for this conversation, though, because Caleb Wilson is obviously now out for the year. We won't see him again until the combine.
Right.
Michael Brown's back injury is re-popped back up, which is unfortunate and a bit concerning, to be honest with you.
Back stuff for teenagers is concerning. Full stop.
Yeah. Darius Acuff is going to be missing this weekend's game, which is unfortunate. They're playing on the road at Missouri.
Would have been a good game.
In theory, it's a rivalry game, and without Acuff, I would imagine Arkansas loses. And it's tough because he's been playing so well. You know my stance on Acuff, and anybody who reads the site does. I echo your thoughts. He's a phenomenal college basketball player.
If the Mavericks stay at the 7-8 period, he is going to be a fine consolation prize should they decide to go that way.
Sure.
That's really where I just feel that he's at a tier because of his likely size. And look, if he tests at 6'3", okay. I don't believe he's 6'3". I believe he's 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And that actually makes what he's doing more impressive, if we're being honest. But at the NBA level, it becomes a hindrance. You just cannot be we saw what happened with a Luka and Kyrie front court. Every other position had to be beyond spectacular defensively, and it just doesn't always work that way.
And when you watch Acuff play defensively, I mean, it is Space Cadet type stuff out there a lot of times. And when you're, the guy in college, with especially a coach like Calipari, you can kind of get away with those things, but it won't work in the NBA. And so it's a little bit tough. So he's going to be out this weekend. Sounds like he'll be okay for the SEC tournament, where Arkansas will probably start on Thursday. They'll be one of the top 8, so they'll get a bye. So it'll be good to see him back there. And then as far as the rest of it goes, Darren Peterson's kind of finally started to stack games together, which is nice. Kansas has been losing quite a bit, but that's neither here nor there. And the rest of the guys at the top, Boozer's starting to get a lot of love, which is very fun to see. And then, of course, AJ DeBonsa. Big one this weekend for BYU. It's one that I noted in my column on Monday. BYU started the year 16-1. They have since lost 9 of their last 13 games to fall from being top 10 to unranked. They're not going to miss the tournament, but they're in real danger they were going to be a 4 seed a month ago. They're probably going to be on the 9 line come the tournament. And that means, yes, if AJ wins the first game, he's going to go up against a 1 seed. That could be Boozer. It's not going to be DeBansa or Peterson. He's not going to be on a 1 line, but it would be fun to see DeBansa in that type of game, because everything we've seen about him is he gets up for it. He might not be the most efficient player in the world, but he gets up for these games. And here in the last month of Big 12 play, since BYU lost Richie Saunders, I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's been very efficient. He's been getting downhill, been getting to his spots. He's up near 50% from the field over the last month. And that's not something I would have thought from AJ DeBonsa watching him earlier this year. So
when I also heard something today that he has a high volume of games with 5 or more assists. And for a team without a true point guard, that's actually quite nice to see.
He's 6'10", and he has an assist rate that is double Darren Peterson's.
And I don't know if you heard Josh and I talk about that. If the Mavericks are to luck into AJ DeBansa, you have to take him. like he was asking the question or kind of talking about, the offensive distribution for next year and can you fix it with this draft? I think that if the Mavericks luck into a top 5 pick, you have your top 4 rather, you take who is there. You don't fucking think about it. You don't, as much as I was kind of leaning towards Kingston Fleming earlier, and that let's say the Mavericks would somehow get to 3, 4. We could have a long conversation about it, but I think you have to take one of the top 4. I just think you have to. Like the Peterson stuff, like the assist to turnovers is a red flag, but I'm also like Kansas plays kind of an egalitarian offense. Like he's not really a point guard there. He's just a guy. He's a guy as a cog.
I agree. I do think if you're top 3, without a doubt, you take one of the 3. Mm-hmm. I do think it's interesting if Peterson goes 1 and let's say Dallas falls at 2. I think you could have real debate that I would take Boozer over AJ. Mm-hmm. But that's just more of a. We've talked about it. We talked about it on the mock with kind of the ice cream shop analogy with every team's going to have their flavor. Sure. Whoever's going to be staring there at 2 is going to have to pick a flavor too, because it's just going to be different type of players. They're both equally talented and can do different things at an elite level. It's just kind of who you want.
That's right.
I think at 4, you could have an interesting conversation of if you do take Caleb versus maybe if you like one of those guards a little bit more. I could hear an argument. I'd probably take Caleb. I trust the talent, and that dude's a ferocious defender.
I think he's going to fall out of everybody's mind, and then he's going to test in hilarious ways at the combine, and then it's just going to become a ooh kind of thing, which is that's why the NBA forcing everyone to do the combine is such good.
Yes.
It's just good for the discussion. So
that, and we get good solid measurables finally.
Yeah. Right, because, like the actual heights, the actual weights. It's the actual wingspan.
And that's why it's been kind of nice to see like a guy like LeBaron Philon, who went through this last year, who I know has been a kind of a hot name on our site here recently, especially in the Slack. He went through the combine last year. So he got actual measurements, did the drills, did the scrimmages, and he ended up going back, and he's going to be a borderline lottery pick. And same thing with Axel Lindeborg, who that kid is special. He's just old, but he's special.
Need the Mavericks to draft him sheerly so we can have Derek Harper trying to say Yaxel Lindeborg multiple times.
And then, maybe one of the last things I'll hit on here before I know you've got a full room here.
Oh, look at that.
We kind of talked about it on the mock draft with names to know at 29.
Right.
I would enjoy watch Arizona play. They have a big Mo Krivas. He's a 7-footer, got actually really good touch, is pretty mobile, does some things well, good screener. I know Fran Fraschilla talked about how if he was advising him, he would tell Krivas to go back to school. But that's a dude who I think is going to be a first-round player, could be in the Mavericks range there. And your Michigan bigs. They play Sunday against Michigan State, who is maybe the most physical defense in the country. They get away with a lot of it because that's just kind of how Izzo is. But like you see Morez Johnson, a Dave Mara, Yaxel, those are 3 big dudes. And they're all going to be probably somewhere 18 to 30. Yaxel probably on the earlier end, the other 2 on the later end. Watch their bigs because those are going to be guys that the Mavericks could target. They both do things well. I think Morez is the guy I would prefer. He's a little bit smaller. He's 6'9", 6'10", a little bit more athletic. But Mara he's not quite clinging. He's not that big. He doesn't have that good a touch. But he's got some of that to his game. So I like watching Michigan play. And against Michigan State on Sunday, that's going to be fun. So
my friend Mike wants to know what you think about Elijah Arenas.
He should go back to school.
Fun, though. More fun than I thought.
Honestly, like, I give him all the credit in the world for actually playing this year.
Yeah.
After
he could have set out justifiably, and he's the number. Like if you only box score watch, you're probably not going to be impressed. But if you see some of the highlight things and just some of the element to his game, like
you see the vision,
there's a zhuzh there.
You see the vision,
yeah.
And knowing how much of an absolute cluster USC is, for him to actually. I know it's not necessarily the most efficient thing at times, but when you're a freshman and you can get to those raw numbers on a team that's as bad as that, I mean, there's something there.
I'll
I'd
tell you
love to
how
see
old
him keep developing, though.
I'll tell you how old I am. I remember Taj Gibson playing at USC. That's how old I am. And Taj Gibson is like the oldest active NBA player at this point. So, all right, brother. Thanks for hopping on. We'll talk soon, okay?
Hey, anytime. You know how to find me.
All right. Talk to you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Coming up next is Killer Cam. Killer Cam, how you doing today, buddy? Long time no talk. Thanks for hanging out.
How are you?
I'm good. What do you got for us tonight? We somehow have a packed room. I don't know. You way to get in line early.
Yeah. Man, for one thing, this game was just, I don't want to be like the refs guy, man, but dude, it was just brutal. It was brutal, man. Like, it was ridiculous at some points, man. Like,
I will say when Flagg gets a more respectable whistle, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable watching the struggle bus games because he does force the issue. He's just not going to get the calls.
Yeah.
That's
not just him, though. It's like, it felt like the whole team just like, they got hacked all the time. But it felt like the league wanted Jayson Tatum to win. So, like, because they got away with a lot of stuff, man.
The closer you get to the basket, though, the less the refs call. So that's why I thought,
really good. Well, then why does like HGA and Denny Appy get all those calls? Because like their main game is driving, so it's like that. I thought driving actually helped you.
Najee was the one who I thought was really upset with a lot of the non-calls tonight because he was just getting swarmed and the guys were coming at him late. And he's such a good, obviously mid-range area guy where they were baiting him all the way to the rim only to shut the door on him really hard. And I do think there was some physicality involved there.
I'm fine with physicality, but like I want it both ways because they call some stuff on us. Where it's like
that's where I appreciate the fact that you watch all these games because like it's not that I want them to lose, but I'm sort of accepting that they're losing, and so
yeah. But I mean, like, I'm fine with losing, but it's just like it's just, I don't want them to lose like by like the refs just like picking and choosing, you know, like the refs like. And the thing is, like, I don't want AI refs, man, but human refs are just so they let things cloud their judgment so easily that it's just like it just gets annoying at times. You know what I'm saying?
It'll come through eventually. Don't worry. The Mavericks are not on the swing right now, where they're going to get any calls.
But that's why I don't want any. I don't want in the near future when Coop gets a superstar reversal. I don't want to hear any complaints from NBA fans. Because this is just ridiculous what he's dealing with right now. So I don't want to hear no complaints about, the refs are favoring him. I do not care. His rookie year, he got hacked pretty much every game, and no one said a thing. So I don't want to hear no complaining at all. Man, but this was like a decent maxi basketball game, man. Like, he just needs stars around him. You know, like he's not like I think we're relying on him too much and kind of shocked that he's not acting like he's not a superstar, but man, he's a good role player. Like he had a bad month stretch, but that was with no Coop, no Kyrie, he was pretty much the main guy that team's focused on. So we got to give him some slack. You know, people kind of since he's had like a bad month, people just want to just mainly write him off, man. But you don't get rid of that 3-point shooting. Like no. I'm sorry, like especially like only after 1 year, like
he has to work on movement shooting when he. Catching and shooting, the ball looks great. When he's downhill, the ball looks great. When he has to relocate side to side, it's a total toss-up.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, continue to let him develop, man, because his shooting, man, I don't want to just give that up just because I'm mad at him for a month.
No, they're gonna. I think they're gonna extend his contract.
I think so as well.
Yeah. No, he's fine. Don't even give a second thought to that. He's the kind of guy you extend, and then if you need to move him later because a better person comes up, but no, don't worry. He's going to be a Maverick for at least 2 years.
Yeah, that's good. And then for the draft stuff, man, I like A-Cup, man, but gosh, like it all depends on the combine for me.
Sure.
You know, it's like it, especially like I heard like some of the Mavs film room guys, man, like it. He put a Twitter post saying like if him and Kingston Flemings come up in the same height, does that change your mind on them? And
who is the other guy?
Kingston Flemings.
Okay.
If they both measure the same height without shoes, does that change your mind? And for me, it actually does. It lowers myself from Kingston Flemings because I really want Kingston Flemings at 5 if he land at 5, but honestly, if they both come in at the same size, I may go with Acuff because it's hard, man. Because like I completely understand your thought we're short guards, man, but God, well,
Wingspan too, yeah.
maybe not 5. Maybe but Mikhail is back, so he may not. This is
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah,
because there's just so much up in the air.
And with Ragler, man, like if he never gains weight, then he's gonna be.
He will, but it's a matter of when.
Injured. Yeah.
I think if you're a Wagler guy, then you have to accept that next year's not going to be pleasant for him.
Yeah, it's not. He is skinny. Yeah, but honestly though, if you get Acuff, we're gonna have a Reebok guy on the team for a long. That's like been a while, you know. Like Reebok made a little comeback, you know.
Let's remember some shoes. That's right.
Yeah, they got Acuff. They signed Nick Ament to one of those like feature deals, you know, like it kind of like what Coop had last year with Duke. Like he signed out with Reebok, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be pretty cool, you know. We may see some cool colorways. You know, they have a new shoe that looks kind of cool, you know. So, but I like Acuff, man. But if he is like 6'1", then it's like, ugh.
Right. Just
but if we're like 8'9" and he's like the best player available, I'll just say screw it, you know, because why not? But if we get like if he's 6'1" and like Mikhail's there, Ragler's there, you know what I'm saying? Like I would rather take those guys, you know. But hopefully we could jump to like the top 4, you know, because I think Caleb Wilson or Love, is it Wilson? Yeah,
it's Wilson.
Wilson. I think Caleb Wilson's going to be really good in the league, man. He just needs to kind of cool off, man, because I think both his injuries are happening because he's trying to do too much. Like his motor's running so high that he's injuring himself, you know. So I think he just needs to like cool it down a little bit, man. But I think he'd be really good next to Coop, and I think that could be a slightly different version of Tatum and Brown, you know, like a more defensive version. But I think Caleb Wilson's offensive game is kind of underrated. Like, yeah, but it's not going to be like 20. Like,
well, while we're wish casting, like the Caleb Wilson stuff, like the hope for him is that he becomes like a Kevin Garnett adjacent guy.
And I would love that. I would love that.
Effectively, what's the character from Street Fighter, Dollism, who's just like has like limbs that go fucking everywhere? That's Wilson.
I would love I would love 10 Kevin Garnetts.
Well, yeah, of course. So he's a psychopath.
That is not an insult to me.
Like that is it's a wonderful thing. Like I think if you're building a team trait, like having all psychopaths, you could do worse.
Yeah.
So.
Coop is Caleb will because it's harder because I don't want to get my hopes up because we could have very easily.
No, but the top 10 is so fun, man. Just the top 10 is so fun. You can find a reason to like every guy, and I think that's really what I'm encouraging, trying to do people. Where it's you know, if the Mavericks are at 8, considering where we were at the start of the year, where we thought the Mavericks were going to make the playoffs and just be really kind of depressingly bad, like mediocre, this is more fun. So I would enjoy this part.
And then with the second pick for the second first round, it's going to be kind of hard, man, because I got to realize that a lot of these guys are probably going to go back to school, you know. So it's going to be while it looks great now, but with like the later round picks, it's going to be kind of bare once the draft actually comes, you know. And there's one dude I like that Braden Berries. I mean, I like him, man, but I just don't think he's going to fall to like 29.
I think he'll probably be a lottery guy.
Really, like 12?
Yeah, I do. I think just because
I got
very skilled. I mean, there's a lot. But it's a long way off. We got roughly 2 months to the lottery, and then a third month till the pick. So you'll see.
Yeah. Like I agree with you. We have to hit on that pick, man. But it's gonna be hard, man, because a lot of these guys that we're gonna be excited for 29th pick are probably gonna go back to school, you know. So it's gonna be a lot barer than people gonna realize when it comes to the actual draft night. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, I'm what you got? Anything else? I'm sorry to make you wait for
you're good.
earlier.
Like you're good. Like that was a good conversation earlier, you know. And only thing I'll say is like I'm a big I know people are kind of down on Darren Peterson right now, but I think him and Coop would be like that would be special. Him and Coop, like I think their skill set fits so well that it's gonna. People, I do understand the Boozer hype, and I think with his with Jaron Peterson's injury history, he's probably gonna drop to like
I'm very curious there. I'm very curious
he's probably
there.
gonna like drop to 3, but if you get him at 3, I wouldn't be happy, man, because I think him and Coop are gonna fit so well together.
I mean, my hope is that this is just a silly hope, but my hope is that the Mavericks somehow jump in the lottery, but then do what Brad Stevens did. Draft Jayson Tatum way back when.
Oh yeah, when they traded from like 1 to 3.
Well, but not only that, they just gaslit everyone about who they wanted to pick. That's what they really did. It was a brilliant move because they knew who they wanted, and they were like, oh well, let's just see if we can sucker everyone out of who we're going to get, and they did. And so that, and given what happened at the trade deadline, trading AD when it felt like nothing was going to happen, I have a lot of faith in this current front office's trickery. So.
Yeah, but to be fair, it all depends on where we land, because like if you land at like 7, then it's like we really can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can land high enough to where we actually do that, man. But if not, then just go BPA. You know what I'm saying? Because
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Talk soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Coming up next is my friend Ash Boying. What's up, brother? How you doing? See if he's there. I'm gonna hit that unmute button. Otherwise, I'm gonna bring Brian on, and I'll bring you back in a bit. All right. I'm going to insert some ads here. Thanks so much for listening to the show. 3 ways to support. Literally send me money. Second way is to listen to the ads. And the third way is to tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back after I insert these ads. All right. My friend Brian's coming up next. Brian, what's up, brother?
Hey, man. God, that game was fucking dreadful, wasn't it?
I've watched a lot of these. Like you have protected your mental health over the last month.
Oh no, I checked out as soon as Cooper got hurt. I wasn't watching this team without Cooper.
Yeah, I've had to watch all but one, and I supplemented it with high school basketball to make sure I didn't hate basketball anymore, which I do not. It's just So that game sucked, but it also was. I felt thorough in what I was watching, where I was just like, there was never in doubt. Like there was never a doubt. So many of these Mavericks games come down to the final 4 minutes, and this was not one of those.
There was never a doubt, but it was more for like what annoyed me the most about it. And I don't want to spend long talking about this game. I'd much rather talk about prospects.
Whatever you want to talk about.
The reason this game wasn't a doubt wasn't because like Boston was so much better than us. Like they happened to be like by the end of it, but the reason this game wasn't a doubt is our best player just did not have it today. And like nobody else really did either. Like Najee did not have it. And I want to caution Mavs fans, be careful doing this ref thing again, because this is what happened with the last guy. And y'all spent his entire career complaining about how bad he was with the refs. There was a lot of palms up Luka to Cooper today that I would like y'all to not enable if you truly didn't like how Luka was with the refs when he was here.
Right.
And now that he's in LA, don't enable that. He was bad today. He was missing a lot of floaters and layup short, passing up open jump shots, driving into turnovers because he didn't want to take open jumpers. Like he managed to put together like some decent counting stats, but he was bad. And like I want to give credit to like the left foot injury,
right?
That he seemed to tweak something like 3 minutes into the game and very clearly wasn't right after that. But no, dude, how he looked last night and how he looked today, night and day. And part of it was, the pressure of playing in front of a bunch of people who came out to see him play from home. I'm fairly certain part of it was playing against a guy that he says he grew up idolizing in Jayson Tatum. There was a lot on his shoulders in this game, and he did not quite meet it, and that's fine. You got to remind yourself he's still 19, but this is a bad game from everybody, and so bad that like this is one of the first of all the wanted losses of the season. This is the first one to feel like an actual loss. It was this one and like the Spurs game.
And all the Timberwolves games have been absolute bloodbaths, all of them.
Oh, I check out of those so fast. It doesn't even count. So
But no, there's really only been they've played 39 clutch games. I don't know if you know that. 39 clutch games out of like 63 contests. I would say of the remaining 20 or so that weren't clutch, there's been about 10 where they got like it was just belt to ass from start to finish. What made this one go that way so quickly was the end of the first half, where all of a sudden the Tatum dunk, the Tatum three, and then the Derek White and one where Najee Marshall's like, I didn't foul him, as he clubbed him in the back of the head. That was really funny.
Yeah, their best player got it rolling. Ours was never really able to get it together. And Clay was doing his best. Najee was doing his best. But Max Christie peeked his head out in the third quarter and was good for like 3 minutes. But outside of that, nobody else was able to get anything going. And that was kind of the game.
Yeah. Let's talk about prospects then.
Hell yeah. Hey, man, I don't care what Darius Acuff and like this isn't even a Darius Acuff game. I don't care what Darius Acuff measures like relative to Kingston Fleming. That dude is not getting drafted anywhere near close to where Kingston Fleming's going to.
I mean, you know,
I don't care if that bullshit's
5 to 8. Like it's you look at some of this shit years later, and it's like, oh, how did this happen? You know, how did Shea Gilgeous-Alexander fall to what was it 9? Where
no, he got drafted 12th, 11th.
He was traded for immediately, like the Clippers or not the Clippers, and Shea was 12, and it's like, how did that happen? Is sort of the question, and that's like it's arguably just because of these sort of you can't see all the things which a player could become, and I mean, and you know, it's funny we often tease who's the new guy over at DLLS?
Ron Harrod.
Yeah, Ron covered high school basketball for like 2 solid years here in Texas. And Ron says that Kingston Fleming is the best player he has seen at the high school level covering it. And that's considering the guys coming out of Texas. As much as we'll goof on his NBA takes every now and again, that means something to me. And then when I watched, like, I've only seen him play once, and it was the Colorado game last weekend where it was just a detonation on poor Colorado. And I'm like, these guys just play so fucking hard. Like that looks like a guy that Jason Kidd would love to coach. I mean, I'm just I'm at the point where I can talk myself into every single guy. The reason I'm having a harder time with Acuff is because I don't like his fucking godfather. I don't. I know that's a petty thing, but like what's the dude's name? I can't remember.
Rashad Phillips. Yeah,
Rashad Phillips. Like Rashad Phillips' NBA translation takes are some of the worst in the draft sphere. It's not that he's a bad analyzer of whether a player is good. That's not what I mean. He doesn't know what works at the NBA level. Clearly, as his like he was like, oh, Zion's bad and Luka's bad. Give me Ja Morant, who also hasn't panned out. And you know, he did this. It was him who did this really good list of all the small guards. Not a single one of those guards was ever a championship winning primary player. Now, that's not what the Mavericks are drafting. That's why you can talk me into Acuff and these sorts of guys.
Yeah, I could be talking to Darius at like God forbid, knock on wood, at like 9, at like 8. But honestly, at 8, I'd probably rather have Nate Amen. But
really,
yeah, I'd rather have Nate Amen or Burry at 8. Like just give me a guy that I know for sure is going to be able to play a role and has the potential to grow.
See, I don't want to roll. I want a home run fucking swing.
Here's the thing. I don't think that's there past like 7. Like,
I think look at SGA. There's all sorts of guys. Paul George, all these guys that get taken 10 to 20. There's a lot of good players in the NBA that get taken in these middle rounds.
Oh, sure. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's like not going to be really good players past 7.
I want that.
If you want the best, like a good chance at like a star, even like an all-star, I think that's where you're going to get it. And obviously, there are going to be surprises that come later. We'll see what happens. Maybe Dalen Swain somehow is able to shoot and dribble at some point and not like turn the ball over every time he drives, you know. And maybe he becomes one. Maybe it's Darius. Maybe it is. And I think Darius is going to be like good. I think he's going to be like a 19-8, 19-9 guy in the league for like a pretty good team. I don't know that he'll be able to start on like a team that wins a chip. Because, and my thing with him doesn't have anything to do with Rashad Phillips. My thing with him is he's small and he has no defensive motor whatsoever.
Right. You got not even a Fred VanVleet style. If you're going to make it in the NBA at undersized, you have to have that Fred VanVleet power to like be able to withhold your own against guys who are 4 inches, 5 inches tall.
Yeah. You have to be either 2021 Trae Young on offense, right? Or you have to be Fred VanVleet at the peak of his powers, which was a pretty good offensive player who was also like a nightmare defensively for it, like other prime.
Now here's
like he
here's
wasn't
a
just,
take though.
you know,
Here's a take. I think if you're a superb athlete, as Acuff clearly is, I think you can learn defense. Dennis Smith Jr. did about 2 years too late. But if Dennis Smith had come in and wanted to learn from Carlisle the way he eventually figured out, he might still be in the league despite being an undersized guard. But he was a pretty good defensive guy.
You know what's funny?
Hmm.
You know who you're actually describing? Because Acuff isn't quite that athlete. He's good. He's a solid athlete, especially for his size. The guy you're actually describing is Tyler Tanner of Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Elite athlete. He's legit. Like, it's one of those Chris Paul situations. They say 6 feet. He's probably like 5'11", 5'11 and a half. Elite athlete. He has like more half-court dunks, I want to say, than AJ DeBonta, than a lot of these guys who are in like at like 6 foot. And he's running the show at Vanderbilt. He is a really, really, really good point guard, really good playmaker, good scorer, maintains the pace for that team, has like a really, really good, especially for his size, like block rate, steal rate numbers. If you're talking about there is a guard that is undersized, but we think that we can make him into like a solid to good defender down the line, that would be the guy. And that's why I'm sold on Tyler Tanner being like a first round guy somewhere, even if it's in like the, I don't know, 24 to 30 range. Sure. But like if that's the guy we get at 29, if we luck up and get like AJ DeBonta or like Cam Boozer or something like that at the top of the draft,
I would rather I just where I sit is I would rather take my swing early and then take my confident pick with somebody that has a lower ceiling late. I'm not particularly interested in taking a potential role player with 8. I'm interested in taking a potential star.
I agree.
That's why a few of these guys concern me in that it's I don't know. I will eventually talk myself into Acuff. I just will, because talent should win out.
If he's the pick, I'll do it. Like he's good. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'll never.
I just can't help myself when it comes to the stuff with Phillips. I just can't help myself because it's like that. Like too like he likes to say he was right about Zion. Well, you know he didn't predict Zion would eat all the beignets in the city. Like that's not what he predicted. Like it's not the same thing. And plus it's like small guards are just a tough sell for me because I want a Cooper, like I want the dream. I want a Cooper Flagg teammate that they play together for 8 years. Like that's what I want. Like I want like a decade together with some of these guys. And that's where my head is. So
give me somebody what else you got size, dribble, pass, shoot, defense, all that, you know?
That's right.
I mean, I just let me see. The Peterson stuff is just getting funny at this point. It is what it is. I've actually come back around on AJ DeBonta at this point. If you give me anybody in that top 3, I do not care who. Sure. I will be not just glad, I'll be elated.
That's right.
Like AJ is more of a down the line potential long-term play in terms of like what we could be seeing. I think you get more of an immediate with Boozer and Peterson. The Markel back stuff popped back up recently. I'm still not that concerned about it, frankly, because I'm more like checking him for positional size and skill set. I don't think this back thing is going to be like super long reaching. Knock on wood. Obviously, we don't know.
Knees are more concerning to me because backs are usually a sign of like muscle imbalances. Whereas if you're a guy that comes in with like tendonitis, like that sucks. Like you don't get that in your back. Like, you know, it's the same thing with AJ where it's just like if he's having cramping issues or if he's having musculature issues, fire the Dallas Mavericks trainer, bring in somebody new, and then let's get his body right. Like that's
dude, give the kid a banana and a Gatorade. Like what are we talking about? Like just he'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, hey man, I'm glad you joined us.
Heck yeah, glad to be here.
All right. We'll do another one of these soon. I'm not doing one Sunday because my kids
don't blame me.
So all right, I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right, peace out.
All right, coming up next, my buddy Mike. Mike, long time no talk. How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
Well, you know, I would have liked a little bit better of a basketball game. I had to deal with
me too.
I had to deal with Bill Simmons telling me that Cooper Flagg is going to become a Celtic like an hour and a half before the game. So I was just listening to that podcast.
I mean, that's annoying.
Like, God damn it.
That's annoying.
And then a bad game, and then just kind of a not real. Like, I mean, it was cool to see Tatum do stuff. Just kind of a classically funny Tatum game where it's like, oh, he was kind of, and then he finishes with 15, 12, and 7.
Yeah, those first, I guess, 6 missed shots or whatever it was.
The dunk was hilariously painful looking.
Yes, and it's clear the jumper's not there yet. I spoke to some Celtics people, I guess, earlier this week, and like the feedback I got was like he's closer to Jayson Tatum than I think people would think. And I think he kind of showed that tonight. Like,
you look good.
Were there moments tonight where it was a little iffy and you could see like he's not in game shape yet? Yeah, to an extent, but
no, he looked
really
kind of just like a guy having an off night at first, and then it's like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. I'm just really happy for him. I know how hard he's worked. I know some people in his camp, and like he gives a shit. Like that.
Sure.
That's the thing with Jayson that I really like is he gets it and he understands like what it means to be a Celtic. So like that part of it's really cool for me. As far as the game itself, like it was kind of fine. Like I felt bad for Coop because I felt like he was put in an impossible situation tonight. Coming back home.
I can't believe the Mavericks played him last night. I cannot believe the Mavericks.
I didn't understand it. Why would you do that?
I think because he wants to play every game. I think he didn't want to go into that game looking rusty. And instead, what happened is it became a self-fulfilling prophecy where he was rusty, and then they actually had I don't know if you watched the end of the game.
I did.
Go watch the last 2 minutes. If you missed it, it needed Benny Hill music. It was so ridiculous. The Mavericks lost in a really painful way where he played past his minutes limit, and he was rusty. And then he came in tonight, and it's just that you come down on that foot wrong, and there's just not. It's too maddening for me. Because he looked way better last night than tonight.
He did. Like I watched that game last night because I'm a league passer and I watch every game. But I just felt like he was put in a tough spot tonight. I didn't really understand kids playing him last night, but it is what it is. I'll say this for the Mavs, like I think the pieces are there long term. Mm-hmm. Like are there pieces that need to be traded in the offseason? Yes. Like you trade Clay, you trade Najee probably, you trade Gafford, and you got to figure out the Lively situation. But, like, I think the pieces are there long-term to really compete. I just don't know. Like, Kirk, do you have more insight on what's happening with the GM search at this point?
No, but I think that given what the two co-GMs did, they'll have an opportunity they'll have an opportunity for the job. I think a lot of people believe it's Dennis Lindsay. I think a lot of other people think it's Jason Kidd, which if it's Jason Kidd, you just write this the fuck off. And then, we might as well trade Flagg now. Kidd is a shit-tastic GM, as he basically was the GM in Milwaukee, and put together a pretty bad team. He is a S-tier mind and conniver and,
backstabber,
strategist and backstabber, but he is not a good team builder. Coaches should not be GMs. That is a general rule for most sports. It's fine. That's not, I saw a list. Kidd frustrates me just because it's some of the things he gets lauded for are also problems. Like the Mavericks have played over the last 5 years. Let's just say there's been 240. No, what's 80 times? Let's say there's been 400 basketball games over the last 5 years. The Mavericks have played close to 200. Yeah, no, just 400 regular season games, whatever, 410. The Mavericks have played something like 240 clutch games.
Jesus.
Like that sucks. Like that's not a good thing.
No.
That means they can't put teams away, or they don't put teams away. And he has to wear some of that anyway. I could be getting some of my numbers off. I'm sure somebody's going to throw it at me, but Nick Angstad of Locked On Maps put some stuff out. And I was just looking at it going, oh my God. Like they played 55. They played 55 clutch games in the first Kyrie Lucas season, where Kyrie was traded for mid-season. Like that's just bet whatever. Anyway, so I think that once they get the GM thing sussed out, it'll be interesting. If it is Lindsay, I think Lindsay probably wants to see if he can win a title in Detroit as enter whatever he is assistant GM there. But he was the guy behind a lot of the moves that made sense for Dallas. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and act like Nico had nothing to do with anything, but all of Nico's moves were big time swings. Like one of my big positions since before trade deadline is I want to strip pick protections, because I think all your trades need to have, like, you need to stand behind your fucking trade. One thing I'll say about Nico Harrison, he didn't add pick protections to shit. He had a top 2 protection to Charlotte next year, which means it's effectively gone. And so it's like that man at least made trades with his chest, and I want more of that in the NBA. And so I think I'm kind of batting around the question. The Mavericks have a long way to go. Like we played the Celtics and the Thunder recently, and if you assume those two teams are among the top 6 generally, and I think that's fair. The Mavericks are like in order to have 8 guys to compete, they're 5 guys away.
Yeah. I mean, I would generally agree with that. I think having 2 firsts this year is going to be really helpful. Obviously,
yes.
You don't have a first next year.
They need to be a way station next year. They need to try to compete because they don't have a pick effectively, and they need to be a way station to take on assets and contracts.
Of the 3, who would you prefer?
Of these guys?
Of the top 3 in the draft.
Woo!
Like, you get one. For example,
I think Boozer would be 3rd just because I think him and Cooper occupy some of the same space.
Fair.
Then it becomes a coin flip for me between the other 2, where I think I like so much of Peterson's old tape to where I'm just like, holy shit. But I also think that he was effectively playing a different sport. Like I watch a lot of high school basketball. It's a different sport than college. It's just a 100%. Different sport. And so even with this EYBL stuff, that's not even comparative to college. So I would be happy with either of the other 2.
The thing with Bruiser Kirk that I do like that he beat all of these guys at that EYBL level.
Mm-hmm.
Every single guy who was a top pick in this draft, he beat. And I think that matters. Like, I know Cam's an incredibly competitive kid, and like he's already played really well at Duke.
Sure.
And I know there are some like people have their own questions or concerns about like how his style of play will relate to the NBA level. But like there is something to it. Personally, I'm an AJ guy, but I understand why, someone like Roby likes Peterson. I get it.
What I like is that I'm not in 2018. I was so in the bag for Luka because I was just like, this guy is clearly the best player. And yes. I had known that because of like some of the draft weirdos that really followed overseas stuff. And when you watch him play against men, it was just there. Like watching you go on Celtics and being like, but it's another guy who's just like, he's good at basketball.
He was a top 10 pick, or was projected top 10 the previous year, and then was just stuck at Real Madrid last year, and then just fell in the draft. Like,
it's pretty amazing.
Crazy.
Anyway, but I was so in on Luka that I knew he was the guy, and I even was like telling Mavs officials that I argued with, where I'm like, you give up next year's pick to go get him. Like, you just do. And so I don't feel that way about any of these guys. And what I find interesting is that I could really make a case for all of them at one way, shape, or form. And that I think is actually quite fun because it just means, number one, in short term, it means Summer League kicks ass. Number 2, it means for the second straight season, and this is going to sound really jingoistic, but I don't care. Americans kicking ass at their own sport is nice. It's just nice.
I hear you.
It sounds fun to me. I like this and being able to look towards the future and not have the top 6, 4 to 6 guys being variations of overseas players. So,
well, I think
I'll take any of them.
I think Coop's going to. I don't know if he'll start in 28, but I think he will be on the team in 28.
But Coop being on the team for us in Dallas is like even if it's complete nonsense about the recruiting and the fact these guys do it, I just like the idea of being able to wish cast that shit. Like, it was really crazy and fun having Luka and seeing him on an international level, but also know that he's doing 0 recruiting.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and look, the last thing I'll say here, because I don't want to take up too much time. I know you got a couple other people left in chat. Coop is like a genuinely good kid, and I think in terms of the long-term stuff, he's someone who not only can you just build around as like a franchise guy, but like he will recruit free agents. Like, he is going to make the extra effort to try to make Dallas a winning environment. And I think that's the really dope part about him is like he cares.
He's
such Tatum, he gives a shit.
Well, and I think these guys, because there's American basketball has gotten a lot better about this the last 5 or 6, maybe even decade, and we don't talk about it enough. Is the competitiveness of American high school basketball players is back in a huge way. Like we don't talk about any of these guys as being wimps or being like, they're not big enough for the moment, or they don't want to do this, that, and the other. Like all these guys are psychopaths in one way, in one way or another.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, hey man, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, no worries, bud. Appreciate you always.
All right, be good. Talk soon.
Later, buddy.
All right, Ash Boing, what's up, dude?
Hey, sorry about that earlier.
Okay. Figure you're walking the dog or something. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yep. I was during all this, I was checking in on some high school highlights and watched a crazy end to a Birdville 5A game, like a buzzer beating step back 3-pointer. Looked like Luca from the corner. So it was awesome. I went to North Crowley Capel on Tuesday and watched my guys, 8 seniors, just get in quicksand and not be able to get out of it. Like they got blocked 3 times in their first 6 shots, and it was like, oh no, they lost by 30.
Yeah, and I mean, North did they play at North Crowley? They played.
No, it was way out, way the f out. I can't even. Mansfield somewhere or another. I drove like an hour and 20 minutes to go watch.
It was like the regional finals are this place in Fort Worth every year, same place.
Yep. I remember. I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's a cool little like pit of an arena, and I'm pretty sure it's Allen versus North Crowley, and that might have been. That game's not tonight, and it's soon, and it's like, oh wow. Anyway, enough of our high school basketball talk. What are you thinking about? The Mavericks or any of this prospect stuff we're talking about? And I think you hit the mute button. Give my man a second to figure out that mute because it sounded like he dropped his phone.
No, okay, here it is. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Bluetooth went out.
Oh yeah, that happens. Yeah, when that happens, it throws everything in a farce. So what's going on?
So Kingston Fleming's, you were talking about Acuff being 6'1". I'm pretty sure Kingston Fleming's is 6'1" as well. Because I watched, I was watching him against Arizona, and he just doesn't look. I mean, if Kingston Fleming's is 6'4", then Braden Burry's is 6'6" or 6'7". Okay?
I hate all the stuff. I hate all of it. It's like everyone lies so bad. It's like let's just get real measurements, please.
Yeah. So if he's 6'1", neither one of those, neither he or Acuff in my mind are top 5 picks. I mean, honestly, and even worse, when you look at Fleming, in Big 12 play, he's shooting 33% from 3 on like 3-point shots a game. So I'm not really interested in taking that guy. I mean, you're going to need somebody that can shoot the 3 if you're going to play. If you're going to have Cooper.
I think the 3-point stuff on him is a little overwrought because of how good that team is at other stuff that they don't need it. But I do think that's a fair criticism. But that's just my read.
Yeah, and I really like Braden Burry, to be honest with you. I think that he is going to be a superstar somewhere because I just like the way he plays the game.
Which is so funny because his teammate Koa Pete was the one that was getting all the buzz, and now it's him.
Well, and he plays the game with so much it seems like he plays the game with so much joy in his heart. Like he's just happy to be out on the court, just running and playing. So, but the guy I really like is, the next problem with Caleb Wilson. I know, everybody wants to say, well, yeah, this guy could be the next Durant, but you look into his numbers and, on non-dunks at the rim, he's only shooting 44%.
Yeah, the offensive stuff I think is a fair worry.
And if that offense never comes around, you're kind of, he's a good situational player, but at 4, you want a guy that, as you said, is going to be, robbing for 8 years.
Yep.
So I don't. He scares me. I will also say this with Wagler, with Phylon, we ran into that this weekend. My son just turned 18 and he does these jiu-jitsu tournaments. And this weekend was his first weekend where he was in the adult division. So he's going against 24, 25-year-olds. And the term man strength is
real
thing, and so if you're going to draft those guys, you're going to have to wait on them for a year or two because they're not they don't have man strength. Wagler especially is super skinny. So. But you got time to wait. Cooper's 19 years old, so
yep.
I mean, you got plenty of time for two guys to grow together like that. But I mean, Cooper does seem to have man strength, but Wagler doesn't have man strength. I don't really think Philon's got man strength. I'm not sure Michael Brown's got man strength, and I mean, Brown to me though, Brown's the guy that really intrigues me because I think he's more of a combo guard than a point guard. And you watch that guy shoot when he's right, when the back is right, and you watch that guy shoot, and he's shooting from range. He's not shooting.
That's so easy to fall in love with what this Mavericks team doesn't have right now.
Yeah, he is shooting from range, and if you try to close out on him, he is by you and to the rim. And once he gets by you and you're in scramble mode, he can find guys. Now he has a lot of turnovers, but it just, that's a guy that could play off Cooper for years because, Cooper's going to be driving to the rim and the team's going to collapse on him and he's going to kick it out to this guy that can probably shoot 43% from range, and just it's just unstoppable because then what do you do? What do you do? And with 29, I'm looking at a guy like, Dalen Swain if he's around, or Amari Allen, because I like the way both those guys rebound as well. I mean, I like the way they play defense, I like the way they rebound, and I think that we need somebody that can rebound pretty well to kind of take that job off of Cooper. I mean. Because eventually you keep adding things onto his plate and he's just going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah, and Cooper's not exactly the best defensive rebounder anyway. Like I think you need, yeah.
And so I think like somebody like a Dalen Swain who can guard 1 through 4 and a lot of times 1 through 5, pretty easily. He's the best perimeter defender in college basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A guy like that, doesn't even have to score for you. He's there to rebound. He's there to play defense and handle the ball and get you a few assists. And when you watch his game, he does that. And surprisingly, everybody talks about his 3-point shot, but you look at him in SEC play, he's hitting 38% from 3. Now he's only shooting 3 a game, but that's really all you need from somebody like that.
Yeah.
So I think that at 29 we can get a guy that you can plug right into, that guy that role that you need right there, and then and what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see the Mavs draft Brown and play him and Kyrie together and slide Christie to the bench to be your volume 3-point shooter.
Sure.
Just
and give you some optionality and not need, yeah.
Because that is a perfect role for him. I would like to see him shooting against somebody's second unit 8 threes a game.
Right. Just go out there and be a microwave.
Yeah, and just bomb, because I think that's his ultimate role. I really do. I don't think his ultimate role is a 2 guard. The more I watch him, I think his ultimate role is to be a volume 3-point shooter off the bench, sort of in the Clay mold. He's just got to learn how to make space for himself. Like that Clay does. Clay's got that little thing where he kind of does the ball around the world, and makes somebody and then slides and gets open on that 3. And Max has got to learn how to do that. But other than that, I think that's his role. But I think the Mavericks, right now, I think they've got, 3 guys that you look at and you say for the future, you've got, Christie that can play that 3-point shooter off the bench role. You got Lively that can be that defensive if he ever gets healthy, that defensive stopper who gives you that vertical lob threat, and you got Cooper that's your superstar. And so what you're looking for is, in the way that I would build a team is I would list the team that I want and then try to back in. Okay, how do I get there?
Sure.
One of the things you talked about and it was like trades and you were talking about how Dallas may be someone that teams offload their players, and I was looking at that, and you look at say teams like say Oklahoma City, who, they drafted Sorber last year with the idea that he was going to be their center of the future, and so they could get rid of Hartenstein. But Sorber's hurt this year, and he hadn't been playing center. So, if they want to keep this thing going, they're going to have to keep Hartenstein. And how are they going to do that? Because they're at 240.
They have so many guys they got to pay. Yeah, it just becomes a math problem.
They're at 240 million. But what you can do is you can slide Caruso into the Mavericks trade exception, and that clears up 20 million in space for them. Now to do that, they're going to have to give us. To do that, they're going to have to give us Philadelphia's number 1 and our pick swap back. But if they want to continue their dynasty, that's what they're going to have to do.
Just something, because there's I think there are options like that, and this is where, I don't know, the new GM, whoever it ends up being, has a lot of optionality ahead of him, a lot of real things they can take care of and have fun with.
And what I'm going to say about this front office, and it's kind of funny that we talk about this, because a month and a half ago, in everybody's mind, it's this is a dysfunctional front office, but what have we actually seen from them other than functionality, other than competence? Because the way they handled the Anthony Davis situation was extremely competent. I mean, and so in my mind, if I'm the owner here, I keep both those guys, and I make one of them kind of the roster building guy, and I make the other guy the head of player development. Sure. And I swing into, getting every young guy I can lay my hands on, find the best shooting coach in America, find the best dribbling coach in America, and find the best defensive coach in America, and develop.
Yeah. No,
I think, that's the way I do it.
That's that would make sense to me. I mean, they need to execute. Rome isn't built in a day. And that was the single thing the Mavericks really fucked up early with Luka, was pushing all their chips in immediately and saying, we have to be good right now. I think you can compete with Cooper Flagg next year. If you get 70 games at a Cooper Flagg, the baseline for your team is probably 38 wins. Like, that's like the minimum with a Cooper Flagg led team. I really believe that.
Okay. And I agree with you there, but when you have a Cooper Flagg led team with Kyrie, Kyrie is going to open up so much space for
sure.
Cooper.
But I also expect like 44 games from him. So my ceiling is a little lower. And keep in mind, that's my floor. I'm saying a 38 win that doesn't mean you can't win 48 games, or probably 48. It's a lot. But I mean, it doesn't mean you can't go, 44 games, 6 more. 6 might not seem like a lot to you guys, but that sort of win swing from one year to the next is very, 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 very difficult.
Well, and in the Western Conference, that's the difference between the playoffs and picking 13th.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you're there. But just getting a competent ball handler who can see the floor, create space. Okay. I mean, let's not forget Kyrie's a 40% 3-point shooter on really good volume, and so put him and Max on the floor together with Cooper and watch the space that you have. Just expand and give Cooper an off season of a pro, strength and conditioning program.
Yeah.
And, because And I realize I understand why it happened tonight, but a lot of times when you see a guy bouncing things off the front rim, that's because either they don't have the legs underneath them like he didn't tonight, or they don't have the strength. And when he gets stronger, that thing bouncing off the front, 6 or 7 of those shots are going to go in rather than and he'd have been 13 of 23 tonight instead of 7 of 23. And then what kind of game would we be talking about that he had? So, you can see where it's going. It's just, it's really kind of fun to watch the struggle as these guys struggle together to try to get where it's going.
Yep.
That's what I've always enjoyed is watching the building process, and it gets to that point where you're the best team, and all of a sudden it starts to get boring to me for some reason, because I just like the struggle. I like watching the building process. It's just fun for me. So,
well, I think this is Yeah, no, this has been fun, and we're gonna have more of these as we get closer, particularly once there's more tournament games, and then just more stuff to talk about. And if I don't know if I'll actually be able to do this, but one of the things I hope the Mavericks do is be very, very transparent about who they're bringing in and looking at, because secrecy is a bullshit game. Like, nobody fucking cares. Like, there is no secrecy. Like, I want to know who they're looking at so we can overanalyze it, because it's fun.
One of the things you talked about was the game that Boston ran on the league with Tatum. And even if the Mavericks are sitting there at maybe 7-8, maybe even at 9, they can probably run that game a little bit with Chicago, because Chicago needs a center. And there's really only one kind of consensus top 10 center in this draft, which is Jaden Quaintance. And if Chicago's sitting there at 10, if by miracle Portland's pick conveys, I wouldn't be opposed to trading 8 for 10 and 15 to Chicago, because they really want that center. So that's something that people need to look at as well, is just pull as many of these guys in with your net as possible, and then just figure out who's good and who you can cast off. So
yeah, no, I agree with that.
So
all right. Well, hey, man, we'll talk soon. I want to go to bed. I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm getting that way myself. So enjoy it, and I guess we'll have I like these Eastern trips because they finish up pretty early. So
that's right. All right, man. Talk
to you
soon.
later. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Sorry I haven't done more of these, but there just hasn't been enough to talk about, and I don't want to absolutely beat dead horses, because that's not fun. Everybody be good. Thanks so much for hanging out at Pod Maverick. Remember to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Talk to you guys later. Go Mavs.